And then I ended up absolutely despising his favorite book. So that was a little bit awkward, just like a little bit. The moral of the story for my worst books every year is I need to learn how to DNF. But hello, my sweet angels, it's your girl Jay, and today I am here with my worst books of 2024. I already uploaded my most disappointing of the year as well as my most surprising books of the year, so I still need to film my best books of the year, but it is coming, okay? And I'm still kind of on track. It is currently the almost end of January, but it's better than July of this year for these to be uploaded, so bear with me, it's coming. I have a total of 6 books on my list today. These are in no particular order. They are just the books that I personally considered to be the worst books that I read in 2024. You might love these books, and I absolutely love that for you. They just were not for me, and I actively dislike them. So without further ado, let us get started. The first book that I have is Into White by Randy Pink. So this one follows a young black girl. Her name is LaToya, and she is basically tired of being ridiculed. So she one night prays to Jesus to become white, and the next morning she is white. And just that concept alone is a choice. I think that the concept could have been executed very differently, and this could have been an incredible book, but the way that it was executed made it be a very not good book. I truly did think that this book was going to have a deeper message about beauty standards, race, and stereotypes, but it did nothing of the sort. Honestly, just every single character, and I mean every single character, was so unlikable in this. They were literally nothing but their skin color. They had no other personality. The entire book was just a huge stereotype, and it seemed to perpetuate those stereotypes and reinforce them, and I just couldn't get behind that. It was not a good book in my opinion. The next book I have is How to Break a Boy by Lori DeVore, and this one has a she-devil for a main character. This one follows a teenager named Olivia Clayton, and she is the second most popular girl in school behind her best friend Adrian. So when Olivia walks in on her best friend sleeping with her boyfriend, she immediately decides that she's going to seek revenge. So she goes to Good Boy Wit to fake date her, and her goal is to get her grades up with the help of Wit, so that she can escape her little hometown, but also fake date him at the same time. I did not care about a single character in this book. I hated Olivia with my entire being. She was so terrible, and the worst part is that she knew she was terrible, and that is a known fact because she reiterated how terrible she was every other sentence of this book. It was like, do a terrible thing, and then her inner monologue was, wow, I'm a terrible human being. It's like, okay, so if you are self-reflecting and you realize that, maybe stop being such a terrible person. You know, that could be an option that you pursue with your life. Honestly, both Olivia and Adrian were just such terrible people. It got to the point where they were so toxic that I just really didn't want them to fix their relationship problems, and they just needed to stay very, very far away from each other. It was just not good, and it never got better. Like, she still was a terrible human by the end of the book, so it was like, what was the point of all of that? I didn't understand it. The next book on my worst books for 2024 list is Rumor Central, the entire series. This is by Rashonda Tate Billingsley, and like I said, the entire series was not good. I thought if I continued to read the books, they would get progressively better. No, they were all 1 stars for me. Every single one of them. It basically follows this girl named Maya Morgan, and she and her friends are part of an MTV series called Miami Divas. All of her friends end up being fired, but she is offered to host her own gossip channel, so she jumps on that opportunity. Her friends are obviously upset, but she doesn't really care because she is now going to be famous and her show is a hit. But as she gains popularity, she also gains a stalker. Honestly, Maya Morgan is probably the most irritating character I have ever read in my entire life. She is so incredibly rude and entitled. It was insane. I thought by the end of the book that maybe she would have a little bit of character development because she went through all of this stuff with her stalker, but she literally learned nothing. We go into the second book and she is still evil and terrible, and I just don't understand how there's zero character development. So then in the second book, she's still terrible, like I said, and she has this huge popular gossip show. And so she decides that she is going to hire somebody to run her social media channels, but she doesn't realize what a mistake that is until it's too late. This series also features the most insane girl-on-girl hate. I have never read a book that has so much of it with literally no, like I said, development at all. It's just constant girl on girl hate, and they never become friends. They just keep hating each other. And then I read the third book, and this is where I called it quits because I just couldn't believe the audacity of this story anymore. Basically, in this one, Maya is back and she's still, you know, super popular, has this gossip channel, but then she decides to use this channel to dismantle a drug ring, because that makes sense. This one at least kind of gave an attempt at the whole drugs are bad message for the youth, but it was still not good and Maya still sucks. There are plenty more books in this series. I believe I still have the fourth book, but I don't know if I will pick it up. I might, just to, you know, see if Maya gets any better. But I highly doubt it after 3 books and she still sucks. So, assuming she is just a shitty human. The next book I have is Magic Mutant Nightmare Girl. This one is by Aaron Grammer, and the concept sounded like it might be a lot of fun, but the execution was lackluster at best. So this one follows a girl named Holly Rhodes. She loves Harajuku fashion and she finds comfort in it after the death of both of her parents. Her best friend's grandmother is a psychic and she gives her some advice to maybe avoid the parks of San Francisco for a little bit because danger is lurking, and she completely ignores the psychic grandmother, who she knows is psychic, and she finds herself face to face with some not so nice mutants. After a struggle, she ends up escaping these mutants, and the next morning she wakes up and her blood is suddenly blue and she has super strength. In search of a cure, she teams up with Special Agent Brennan and his team of nerds. So, like I said, sounds like it could be a cool concept. This one took me from December to February to read because I was just not a fan of this. Honestly, this one felt like there was absolutely nothing happening and we just continuously went in circles around these characters, and again, they did nothing. I thought that every single one of these characters were so one-dimensional. Holly was the worst out of all of them. She was just so insanely self-centered and so obsessed with her fashion to the point where it was like they would be in a literal fight getting their asses kicked and she'd be like, oh my god, I got dirt on my dress. How will I ever survive? And it's like, maybe you should focus on the fight that is happening rather than the speck of dust on your dress. And then there was absolutely zilch chemistry between her and Agent Brennan, and it seemed like they were trying to force it so much. But the most annoying part is the entire time she was ever with Brennan, she would just constantly be guessing what his sexuality was because there's like another agent named Nunes and she thought that they had a thing. So she just kept prying and prying and prying, and it was like, girl, stop. I also called who the villain was literally 5 seconds after they were introduced into the story, so it was just a big letdown in the end. Like, such a letdown. Next one I have is The Helpline. This one is by Catherine Collette, and I really did not like this one. This one follows a girl named Germaine, and she has a lot of struggles with connecting with people. She was just laid off from her job. She ends up being offered a job at City Hall where she is going to answer the phone lines for the senior citizens helpline. She discovers that the mayor actually has this giant plan to shut down the senior center to get rid of the troublemakers that are feuding with the neighboring golf course that is run by a man named Don Thomas. Germaine originally wants to help shut down the senior center because the mayor is asking her for her help, but as she gets to know the troublemakers, she changes her mind and she's like, maybe not. Maybe we like the troublemakers. I just found this to be so incredibly boring. The characters were all very flat to me, except for the senior citizens. I also just absolutely hated how much these characters took advantage of Germaine. I'm assuming that she is autistic. It was never explicitly said, but the way that it reads, it is definitely autistic coded. And these people were just such evil humans. I also absolutely hated the love interest who I also felt was taking advantage of Germaine. Just the vibes of this book was just not it. It just wasn't it. But I did end up giving it a 1.5 stars just for the senior citizens because, like I said, they were the highlight of the story. And last but not least, I have The Killing Floor by somebody who I don't remember, but I didn't like his writing. Lee Child. I should have known that. This is the first Jack Reacher book. The only reason I read this book is because my boyfriend said that it was his favorite book. So I was like, chance to connect more, let me read it and then we can talk about it. And then I ended up absolutely despising his favorite book. So that was a little bit awkward, just like a little bit. But this basically follows Jack Reacher. He is an ex-military police officer. He is passing through a little town in Georgia when he is arrested for murder. As he is trying to clear his name, he realizes that he is maybe a little bit more involved than he once originally thought. I hated this so much solely for the fact that Jack Reacher is the biggest pig of a main character I have ever read about. He was constantly commenting on the women in the story and their bodies and how they looked, and it was just like, dude, literally maybe talk about, you know, their personality. I don't know, like literally anything but their boobs, please. And the writing of this, oh my god, it made me want to bash my head off of a table. He would say one thing and then say the exact same thing in a different way. So like, for example, he would be like, the box is empty. And then the next sentence would be like, there's nothing in the box. It's like, that's literally what you just said. Yes, I figured that out. Like, I don't know if Lee Child thinks that his readers are idiots, or maybe he just had to hit a certain word count, but oh my god, it was so bad. I did end up giving this a 2 stars because I do think that the action scenes were very well done, and I did like that aspect of the story, but other than when Jack Reacher was beating people up, not for me. Just not for me. I'm sorry, Jason. Alright everybody, so those were my 6 worst books of 2024. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them. And I will see you all in my next video. Goodbye!